This evening I had an opportunity to meet with several women who were in charge of and directors for the Beacon Center in Daytona Beach, which Senator Tom Wright has been harassing incessantly for quite some time. I'd like to start off by saying that this entire situation is beyond bizarre. I'd like to start with a couple basic, simple facts. 1. Men being permitted into a domestic violence shelter is rare, few, and far between. Florida State Senator Tom Wright targeted the Beacon Center and the leadership because they would not allow him unfettered access at all times to freely just show up and walk around and do whatever he pleased at the center, which in itself is just odd behavior. And because I like to stick with the facts here, I'm not going to repeat some of the rumors as to why the senator wanted access to this facility. But what he did in the wake of being told no by the director is what has led us here in this entire saga. I'd also like to note in this that the Beacon Center currently has 7 full-time employees that is running a facility staffed with over 20 people currently living there, because the vast majority of people that were working there have resigned in the wake of this entire thing. Senator Tom Wright engaged in targeted harassment of this facility by contacting and using his position to contact local charities that would make donations and commit libel slander against the center, saying that the director was trafficking children and was doing drugs with the facility, the residents that were living there. During the same time, the donations to the center that they completely are dependent on, and this is the only certified domestic violence center in the entire county, Mr. Wright's statements then had an impact directly, to the point where staff of this facility, where people are being housed, women and children, this is their only place to go, had to actually, at some points, scoop excrement with their hands because of plumbing issues that will not and have not been rectified because of his continued meddling and bad-mouthing of this center. None of the local charities, including the NASCAR Foundation and the Halifax Foundation here in Daytona Beach, have decided they don't want to affiliate themselves when they would have been and have been major donors in the past. When you look at the picture as a whole, it seems as though Mr. Wright has created a problem that he wanted to be the savior of. And it almost looked as though he was going to be able to do that. But he showed his true colors, which he's done at this facility over the past 6 years, including screaming at women staff members in their faces on a number of occasions dating back to 2017. His behavior at this center has warranted him being asked not to come there. But what I find most concerning is last week, after the director sent in her resignation letter, Senator Tom Wright, as well as the Daytona Beach Police Department, set up shop outside of this facility and then proceeded to engage in illegal activity, federally illegal activity, by stopping the residents coming home to that facility and asking for their identification. I have reached out for a comment from Chief Jakari Young regarding this on Twitter. I have received no comment. I have tagged the Daytona Beach Police Department. asking for any information on this ongoing issue. There has been no comment. In fact, the Daytona Beach police went as far to say that there were no calls to that facility during the time period. They are actually on camera security footage across the street, and the behavior is on video. So I think this would be an excellent time for the Daytona Beach Police Department to come clean on what actually took place there. Because if you were, in fact, stopping women going into a domestic violence shelter and asking for their identification, you were committing a federal crime. The fact of the matter is the Daytona Beach area news media is ignoring the situation as a whole, and the senator himself is also ignoring this issue as a whole. It is time that we stop allowing politicians to engage in bad behavior because they merely have a position of power. This man in this Senate seat did not win his seat. His name was not on a ballot. The Republican that held that seat before him merely died. And what Senator Tom Wright is doing to late Senator Dorothy Huskell's legacy is disgusting. And the fact that an elected official would continue to engage in harassment of a domestic violence shelter in this capacity is horrific. This is where we are. Now, I don't know if Mr. Wright has a financial stake in this, but the only way that we can rectify this entire situation is for Senator Tom Wright to resign and for the president of the board of the Beacon Center, Carmen Ruiz, to resign effective immediately. The board of the Beacon Center needs to be completely replaced with people who are not absolute bags of trash and are there to help the residents do better. Fund the center that is in disrepair and has needed tens of thousands of dollars of repairs on a monthly basis because of the lack of basic upkeep. The funding for this center has been suffering because of these two. Additionally, I'd be very interested to know exactly what took place at the meeting in June between Carmen Ruiz and Senator Tom Wright, because she didn't do it in front of the board of directors. She did it behind closed doors. So when the board of directors asked to know exactly what took place in that meeting, she did not tell them. A day later, DCF showed up for a surprise inspection. These women are heroes. Angie has been working 25 years helping victims of domestic violence. These women walked away from their job with the hope that this center would be able to succeed because they were no longer there and no longer the targets of that harassment. And I am not going to stop until we have answers here in Volusia County, because there are a lot of people in this community that have a lot of questions for Tom Wright, and he refuses to answer them or even merely engage with his constituents. And I look forward to my next conversation, which is going to be with the woman he assaulted in that video on Saturday.